I told my boyfriend, "We're done. I'm going to see the apartment since it's in my name." I kindly asked him to leave everything as it was and go. He accepted like a mature person, but when I came home from work, he had taken all the things he bought and left the house empty. I've always believed that a space is more than just four walls. It's a canvas for your soul and, more importantly, the primary backdrop for my personal brand. This apartment wasn't just a place to sleep. It was the physical manifestation of my quiet luxury era that my followers have come to adore. My parents, who have always supported my vision for a curated life, helped me with the down payment to ensure I had a foundation that was legally and spiritually mine. It was a sanctuary of neutral tones, high-end textures, and perfect lighting that made every day in my life vlog look like a dream. Liam was there, of course, but he was always more of a supporting character in the narrative I was building for the world. He was the one who handled the boring logistics while I focused on the vibe and the engagement that actually keeps our lifestyle afloat. Lately, however, I could feel our frequencies diverging, and it was becoming a major drag on my creative energy. Liam just didn't seem to understand that as I grow as an influencer, the people around me need to match that elevation or step aside. He started complaining about how much time I spent performing, and how the apartment felt like a film set rather than a home. It was so draining to have someone constantly projecting their insecurities onto my professional success. I realized that for the sake of my brand and my mental clarity, I needed to shed the dead weight and fully embrace my solo journey. I deserved a space that was entirely dedicated to my growth without his heavy, uninspiring energy clouding the atmosphere. The conversation was actually incredibly high vibe and mature, or at least I thought it was at the time. I sat him down and explained that we were simply on different paths and that I needed him to move out so I could reclaim my space. Since the apartment is legally mine, there wasn't really much to debate, and I made sure to be as gentle as possible about the transition. I told him he didn't need to rush, but I did emphasize how important continuity is for my audience. I specifically asked him to leave the furniture and the decor exactly as they were because they are integral to the aesthetic I've spent years building. I even framed it as a way for him to show real maturity and respect for the work I've put into this brand. Liam just sat there, nodding with this blank expression that I interpreted as him finally accepting the natural order of things. He said, "I understand, Chloe. I'll respect the legal ownership." And I honestly felt a wave of pride for how well I handled it. It felt like a breakthrough in communication, proving that you can end a relationship without the typical low-vibe drama that people usually post about. I even started planning a new chapter reel in my head, thinking about how I'd announce the split with grace and poise. He left that afternoon to go stay with a friend, and I spent the rest of the day in back-to-back strategy meetings with brands. I was feeling so empowered, like a true CEO of my own life, ready to finally step into the spotlight alone. The walk back to the apartment was filled with this sense of serene anticipation for my first night of total freedom. I imagined lighting some expensive candles, pouring a glass of wine, and maybe doing a quick, unfiltered thoughts live stream for my inner circle. But the second I turned the key and pushed the door open, the silence that greeted me wasn't peaceful. It was haunting. My jaw literally dropped as I stepped into what looked like a crime scene or a construction site. The entryway, which usually featured a stunning marble console table and an antique mirror, was completely bare. I felt a cold chill run down my spine as I realized that the atmosphere I'd worked so hard to cultivate had been completely gutted. I walked into the living room, and the sight was honestly traumatizing to my senses. My custom-made emerald velvet sofa, the one that serves as the centerpiece for almost all my sit-down videos, was gone. The Italian floor lamps that provide that perfect warm glow were missing, leaving only the harsh flickering light of a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. Even the heavy velvet curtains that blocked out the unaesthetic street noise had been ripped down, exposing the room to the cold, gray outside world. It was a literal cave, a hollowed-out shell of the home I had just been bragging about. I stood in the middle of the room, and my own gasp echoed off the white walls in the most depressing way possible. It felt like a calculated, cruel prank designed to strip me of my dignity and my livelihood in one fell swoop. Liam knew exactly how much those pieces meant to my content. They weren't just objects, they were my tools. Taking them wasn't just about moving out, it was a targeted attack on my ability to function as a professional. I couldn't believe that someone I had shared my life with could be so ungentlemanly and petty over mere things. He knew I didn't have the time or the mental bandwidth to refurnish an entire apartment from scratch while maintaining my posting schedule. It was such a betrayal of the maturity he had promised just a few hours prior. I tried to call him, but it went straight to voicemail, which is just another classic move from someone who can't handle a real conversation. I sat down on the floor, the only place left to sit, and felt a genuine sense of panic rising in my chest. How was I supposed to film my morning routine tomorrow in a room that looked like a squatter's den? He has essentially held my lifestyle hostage because he knows I spent almost all my liquid savings on the closing costs for the deed. I felt like the victim of a very sophisticated form of emotional and professional sabotage. It's incredibly unfair that I'm being punished just for wanting to live my most authentic life. The level of resentment required to systematically dismantle a home like that is honestly terrifying to me. He must have had a team of movers ready the moment I left for my meetings, which shows a level of premeditation that is just dark. I had been so kind, so open, and so legally clear with him, and this was how he chose to repay that grace. He turned a moment of personal empowerment into a scene from a horror movie. And for what? To prove he bought the furniture? It's so incredibly small-minded to prioritize receipts over the legacy of a shared space and the vibe we created together. Now I'm staring at these blank walls, wondering how someone I loved could be so blinded by pettiness. It's like he wanted to erase every trace of my comfort just because he could no longer be the one to share it. I'm currently looking at my reflection in the window since there are no mirrors left, and I look absolutely exhausted. This is exactly the kind of negative energy I was trying to avoid by breaking up with him in the first place. He's proving my point with every empty room. He was never truly aligned with my success. I'm going to have to find a way to spin this for my followers, but right now I just feel completely abandoned in my own house. Main story comments. Anonymous user 1 says, "Let me get this straight. You told him to get out because the place is in your name, but you expected him to leave the stuff he actually paid for? That's not maturity, that's just you wanting free furniture." Up's reply, "True maturity is about the legacy of the space, not just receipts. He knew those pieces were essential for the continuity of my brand, and taking them was a direct attack on my career." Anonymous user 2 says, "He literally followed your instructions. You said move on, and he took his property with him. He sounds like a legend for not leaving you a single chair to cry on." Up's reply, "Exactly. It's like he wanted to erase my comfort just because he could. It's incredibly petty to prioritize property over the emotional energy of a home." Update 1. It's been 3 days since my last update, and my life has officially devolved into a low-budget indie film. I've been forced to sleep on a yoga mat in the middle of my bedroom because my king-sized bed, which featured a hand-carved headboard perfect for waking up shots, is gone. Every bone in my body aches, and the lack of proper rest is starting to show in my skin, which is a total disaster for my upcoming skincare partnership. I tried to message Liam to explain how low vibe and unprofessional his behavior was, hoping he'd at least return the bed or the sofa. I explained that these weren't just items to me. They were the backbone of my digital presence and that he was essentially sabotaging my income. Instead of a thoughtful apology or a realization of his cruelty, Liam sent me a PDF. It wasn't a letter or an explanation. It was a cold, clinical document containing every single invoice for every piece of furniture in the house. He even included the receipt for the dishwasher and the light fixtures he'd upgraded last year. The message attached simply said, "Since we're being legalistic about who owns what, I'm just following your lead, Chloe." The audacity it takes to treat a 3-year relationship like a corporate audit is honestly mind-blowing. He's acting like a robotic calculator instead of a human being who once claimed to care about my well-being and my dreams. I'm currently sitting on the hardwood floor eating lukewarm takeout because I don't even have a single chair or a table to set a plate on. The echo in this place is so bad that I can't even record a voiceover without it sounding like I'm trapped in a shipping container. My engagement is already starting to drop because I haven't been able to post any high-quality content in 72 hours. My followers are starting to ask why I'm only posting old throwback photos and why I haven't done a live tour of the new era apartment yet. I feel like I'm being suffocated by the very walls I fought so hard to keep in my name. It's a total construction zone here, and I'm the one stuck in the middle of the debris. The irony is that I was the one trying to be legal and mature to avoid exactly this kind of messiness. I thought by being clear about the deed we could avoid any confusion, but he's twisted my words to justify his own greed. He's taking following my lead to a ridiculous extreme just to make a point, and it's honestly so transparently desperate. He wants me to crawl back and beg for the sofa, but I refuse to give him that satisfaction, even if it means my back is permanently ruined by this mat. I'm trying to manifest a solution, but it's hard to stay positive when you're literally living in a void. Every time I look at that PDF, I just see a man who is terrified of my independence. Update 1 comments. Anonymous user 1 says, the PDF move is top tier. He's just given you the legal maturity you asked for, says. Why are you mad he has receipts? Ops reply, there's a difference between maturity and being a robotic calculator. He's using logic as a weapon to dismantle my entire lifestyle. Anonymous user 2 says, just go to a furniture store. You're acting like he stole your soul when he just took the stuff he bought with his own money. Ops reply, you don't understand. Those were curated pieces, not just IKEA stuff. You can't just replace a vibe overnight, especially when your engagement depends on it. Update 2. It's been 1 week since my last update, and the minimalist lifestyle is definitely not the era I wanted to be in. I tried to film a minimalist era vlog to save face and explain the lack of furniture as a conscious spiritual choice, but it was a total fail. The audio was so bad because of the echo that the editing software couldn't even clean it up. I sounded like I was broadcasting from a bathroom. I spent hours trying to make the empty space look intentional with some plants and floor cushions, but it just looked like I'd been evicted. My brand is built on aspiration, and there is absolutely nothing aspirational about a woman eating ramen on a yoga mat in an empty $1 million apartment. Out of sheer desperation, I reached out to Liam again with what I thought was a very fair and generous compromise. I suggested that he lease the sofa and the dining set back to me for a few months, since he's likely living in a much smaller place and probably has them crammed in a basement anyway. I even offered to give him a shout out for his help, which would have been great for his own social standing. He didn't even acknowledge the offer of a collaboration or my professional courtesy. He just told me that he had already moved everything into a high-end, climate-controlled storage unit. He said if I really wanted them, I could buy them from him at their current market value. The level of audacity required to try and sell me my own lifestyle is genuinely staggering. He knows perfectly well that I spent every spare cent on the apartment fees and the owner title to ensure my security. He's essentially holding my aesthetic hostage, dangling the environment I need to work in front of me like a carrot. It's a classic power move from someone who can't handle a woman who knows her worth and stands her ground. He's trying to bankrupt me emotionally and financially just because I had the courage to end a relationship that no longer served my growth. It feels like I'm being bullied by my own past, and it's making it impossible to focus on my manifestation goals. I feel like he's winning some sort of twisted game that I didn't even know we were playing. While he's out there with his storage unit and his market value, I'm losing followers and potential brand deals every single day. I had to turn down a partnership with a luxury loungewear brand because I literally don't have a bed or a chair to model the clothes on. It's not just about the furniture, it's about the fact that he is actively sabotaging my career out of pure spite. He's trying to prove that I need him, but all he's proving is that he's a toxic person who uses material goods to exert control. I'm currently looking for a way to get a quick loan, but my credit is tied up in the mortgage. Update 2 comments. Anonymous user 1 says, are you actually a minimalist now or just broke? Because this sabotage sounds a lot like not having money for furniture. Ops reply, it's a curated choice that he is currently sabotaging by withholding the pieces that define the space's energy. Anonymous user 2 says, Liam is absolutely winning this breakup. He's got the money, the furniture, and the peace of mind. You've just got a deed to an empty box. Ops reply, winning involves grace, which he clearly lacks. Taking everything and hiding it in storage is just a sign of deep insecurity. Update 3. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and I have officially hit a new level of emotional and professional betrayal. I found out through a mutual friend who probably shouldn't have told me, but I'm glad she did, that Liam didn't put the stuff in storage at all. That was just a lie to keep me from knowing the truth about his market value scheme. He actually sold the entire curated set of my furniture to a rival creator who does content almost identical to mine. I was scrolling through my feed this morning and I nearly fainted when I saw her latest post. She was sitting right there, on my emerald velvet sofa, under my Italian lighting, looking like she owned the world. Her comments were absolutely flooded with people saying things like, "Obsessed with this new look," and "Where did you get that sofa?" It's a vibe. It felt like a physical blow to the chest to see my entire identity being worn by someone else like a costume. He didn't just sell the furniture, he sold my brand's look to a competitor who he knows I've had issues with in the past. I sent Liam a scathing text about professional ethics and the spiritual debt he was incurring by being so malicious. I told him that selling our shared history to a rival was the lowest thing he could possibly do. It's a total violation of the unspoken bond we had as partners and professionals. His reply was so dismissive it made my blood boil. The deed is in your name, the receipts were in mine. We're both just protecting our assets, right? It's the same tired legal argument he's been using to justify being an absolute monster. He's acting like this is just business, but it's a targeted assassination of my personal brand. He knows that seeing her in my space, or at least in the environment I created, would be the ultimate humiliation for me. He's effectively given my secret sauce to the enemy just to see me fail. I spent the morning crying on my yoga mat, feeling like my entire life has been hijacked by a man who has no soul. I can't even look at social media right now without seeing her flaunting my aesthetic. It's like she bought a stolen identity, and she's being celebrated for it while I'm being mocked in my own empty apartment. The irony is that my followers are starting to follow her because they love her new style, which is actually just my old style that Liam sold out from under me. I feel like I'm living in a nightmare where the person I trusted most has become my biggest saboteur. I've reached out to a lawyer to see if there's any intellectual property claim I can make regarding the look and feel of the furniture, but they just laughed at me. Nobody understands the gravity of what he's done to my vibe. Update 3 comments. Anonymous user 1 says, "Ouch, the boomerang hit hard with this one. Seeing your rival on your sofa must be the ultimate reality check." Ops reply, "It's not a boomerang, it's a betrayal of our shared history. He sold the visual language of our relationship to the highest bidder." Anonymous user 2 says, "Not going to lie, the rival creator actually makes that sofa look better. Maybe it was the energy in the room after all." Ops reply, "She didn't make it look better. She bought a stolen identity. There's no soul in a style that you just purchased off an ex-boyfriend." Update 4. It's been 1 month since my last update, and the hollow box I call home has finally reached its breaking point. I had to swallow my pride and take out a high-interest personal loan just to furnish the living room with some semi-decent pieces. I had a major sponsored brand dinner scheduled, and I couldn't exactly host a group of elite executives on a yoga mat with a single light bulb. I spent a fortune on fast furniture that looks okay on camera but feels like cardboard in real life. The legal maturity I was so proud of back when I broke up with Liam has officially become my greatest burden. I have the title, sure, but I also have every single headache that comes with it. During the brand dinner, while I was trying to pretend everything was perfect, the real world decided to intervene. I noticed a dark, damp stain spreading across my brand new, very expensive hardwood floor near the kitchen. It turns out there's been a slow, hidden leak behind the wall for weeks, and because I'm the sole owner, the entire repair bill is on me. Liam used to handle all the boring maintenance and talk to the contractors and the HOA while I focused on the aesthetics. I didn't even know where the main water shutoff was until the floor started warping under my feet. The dinner was a disaster, with everyone whispering about the musty smell in my luxury apartment. Now, I'm sitting in a half-furnished, damp apartment, facing a massive repair bill and a debt for furniture that I don't even like. The high-vibe life I imagined for myself has turned into a series of expensive, stressful chores that I'm completely unprepared for. I have the legal ownership I fought for, but it feels like I'm just the curator of a sinking ship. Every time I look at my warped floor, I think about how Liam is probably sitting on a beach in Europe right now. He used the money he made from selling my lifestyle to fund a month-long trip, and he looks incredibly happy in his photos. He didn't even have to worry about the leak because he moved on, just like I told him to. I'm left with the title to a hollow, expensive box that is literally rotting from the inside out. My engagement hasn't recovered, and I'm spending more time talking to plumbers than I am to my followers. I thought that by cutting him out, I was protecting my brand, but it turns out I was just removing the only person who kept the physical reality of my life from collapsing. I have my name on the deed, but there's no vibe left in these walls, just the sound of water dripping and the weight of my own bad decisions. I'm starting to realize that you can own the stage all you want, but if you don't know how to keep the lights on, the show is eventually going to end in the dark.